Well, we know that when you go to see a movie, the part that grabs you, of course, is the trailer. And maybe you haven't really thought about it that much, but there really is an art to making a good trailer. So, of course, we've brought in our resident movie expert, Rob Rector, to join us here at the Milton Theatre, because in a lot of ways, the Milton Theatre is not only a hub for, the performing arts in the theatrical sense, but it also, elevates things like the Revival House Theatre.
Absolutely. Actually, this is the home base for Revival House. All those many years ago, I think almost 10 years ago, we started on this very stage here. So yes, this place holds a lot of importance to Revival House, and in particular, this program that we have, the Horror Trailer Challenge, because it's one of our staple concepts that we have, and I think it's probably one of our most enduring legacy events that we have that we always look forward to. And
we are going to get into some of the details of the challenge in our next block. Right now we want to focus, though, on actual movie trailers, because you taught a class about them. It kind of led into the entire horror trailer challenge thing. How have they changed over time? How, based on just what's going on in movies or the world, how has it become a new, different thing?
Yeah, so if you want, we'll harken back to the early days of cinema, back in the early 1900s, and actually where it got its name, trailer, was because they were screened, or they were shown after a play. So a gentleman who owned a slate of theaters had some background footage that he shot, and then he showed it after from another performance after one of his stage performances. So hence the term trailer, because it followed the production.
Right. Ha-ha.
Yes. There's a reason for it.
We got it.
So then flash forward. So then that started to become a practice, and then there was a large governing agency that kind of took over on all the trailers from essentially from like early 1900s, like 1918, all the way up until almost the 1960s, was essentially one organization that was responsible for cutting all those trailers. So they all had kind of a very similar vibe and approach to them. Then in the 1960s, you had these young directors by the name of Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock, who said, you know what, I want to do a little bit more with my trailers. I got some ideas. So they worked with some graphic designers. They have some of the most iconic trailers that you see today, and they've evolved since then. And we can talk about some of the most recent evolutions of them as well, too. But the trailers have now, like you had mentioned, it's an industry now. I mean, it is perhaps, I often equate it to like Schrodinger's cat, where it is like, you have that trailer that you watch and it exists in your mind, this incredible film that it could be. Meanwhile, the real film is out there somewhere and it might not hold that same potential.
You don't know if it's going to live up to the hype. The whole job.
Exactly.
The job is to create the hype.
And they do a great job of it now. And now you have, the 5-second promo trailers to the preview trailers.
Yes.
So there are all these iterations of the trailer these days, and it's because of several different advents within the communications industry. Probably one of the most notable ones I would say would be YouTube. Back in 2005, once that really started to hit the ground running, that was a platform where you could show, so there are two different types of trailers. You have your regular trailer for the general audience consumption, and then you've got the red band trailer. The red band trailer is usually used for the R-rated or the more mature audience members. So, but now with YouTube, you can launch everything.
Yeah, it's kind of all of it.
That's true.
But let me ask you about this, because this is one of the things that when I watch trailers, sometimes I like it, sometimes they bother me.
Right.
When they give away too much in the trailer, when I now know the whole movie, that's not good either.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, there's one of the more recent examples of it was the Castaway with Tom Hanks. When they cut the trailer for that, they even showed the last scene of the movie. So they kind of gave it away. Spoiler alert for anyone who...
If you haven't caught up on Castaway, it's been a little while.
But he makes it. He makes it out okay, right? So, but yeah, they showed that. So there was a lot of pushback on there of like, all right, wait a minute. We've got to let there be an element of surprise for some people. So they have kind of restarted to where now it's a real focus on sound design and scene creation. Take example, something like Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah.
Which was just all these scenes of, and then they would start this this repetitive pattern of this click, click, boom, which kind of set the pace for this, and without divulging too much of the storyline. And then, you know, there's also been more of a pushing away of the old Don LaFontaine and Percy, oh gosh, what's his last name? I can't remember. But anyway, two of the big voices of the 80s when we were growing up, and you would hear "In a World of," right?
Well, they did a whole movie on it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And now that's kind of gone by the wayside. That was kind of in the 80s, but they've gone away with that. And it's been more replaced with that sound design, with that heavy thumps. And a lot of it could be traced back to 2010's Inception with Christopher Nolan, with that boom.
Yep.
And if you notice, that's in everything nowadays.
Yeah.
Every time there's like a big drop, it's that thunderous, like reverberating bass that you hear that was that was used for the soundtrack, Hans Zimmer score of Inception.
Well, I will tell you what, I love some of the ones that are done now, but I could use a few more going back to that In a World. They set the stage, they tell you what movie you're going to without ruining what is in the movie.
And there's the fine line they always have to balance, right? You have to make it to whet the appetite enough to just give that little bit of a carrot there too, but not give them too much so that they walk away saying, I
don't need to see it now.
Yeah, there's no, I'll wait for it comes on cable or something like that. So yeah, and now there are entire agencies, there's a number of agencies in the major cities like New York and Philly and Los Angeles that are solely there. Their sole purpose is to create trailers for that film. So the filmmakers themselves really don't even have a say in any of it in some cases.
Which is wild.
Which is wild, right? Exactly. But I mean, it goes along with it too. I guess when a writer writes a film, you know, he gives it over to the screenwriter, and it's no longer, it's part of the vision of the director. So, but now sometimes you will have a director like a Kubrick or a Hitchcock who will say, hey, I want control over this. I want to make sure. I know that Paul Thomas Anderson did that for a couple of his too. So, you know, it really depends on what they write into their clause.
Depends on how successful you've been in the past.
Yeah,
or not
let you do it.
Get the freedom to do the trailer.
Where your
you
name
want.
is on the marquee. Exactly.
Well, we've got a chance to find out a whole bunch of people's level of success at making a trailer. That's coming up. We're going to talk about it right after the break, but we're going to take a quick pause here. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with Rob Rector.